Welcome to Let's Talk Podcast. I'm so glad you guys came to be here today. The first thing I need you guys to do is hit that like and hit that subscribe. It's free, it doesn't cost anything. I'm a new channel and I'm trying to grow, and I cannot and I will not do it without you. With that being said, man, I'm so excited. We got them to come back, you guys. Yes, we got them to come back for round two. Technically, it's like round 10, but we won't call it round two. And this time we're going to be discussing, are women held accountable in modern society? And I'm actually looking forward to this because this is a big thing that a lot of people are arguing about and kind of going back and forth about. So I really want to hear what High Value Hebrew has to say about this. But with no further ado, let's bring up High Value Hebrew. What's up? What's up? What's up?
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on?
Back in
Thanks.
the
It's good to be
building.
back.
Back in the
Back.
building.
We're back. We're back, man. I don't know. I guess I just keep coming back for the smoke, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, you do. And the people love you too, man. I always get a lot of feedback. I always get a lot of messages from people. They really love your commentary. They love the way you think, how you break down stuff. So make sure you guys check out High Value Hebrew on YouTube. And of course, you also have it on Israel as well. If you guys are looking for more of a spiritual aspect of his thoughts and his teachings. And I think you guys will really enjoy it. I support both of them actually. So y'all definitely need to do that. With that being said, first and foremost, introduce yourself to the people, and then we're gonna jump right into this thing.
Hey, we're gonna jump right. I'll make it short and sweet. Robert E. Reed, High Value Hebrew. If you want, biblical doctrine and all that, hey, that's at Fountain of Israel on YouTube. And if you want to reach the whole High Value Hebrew, it's High Value Hebrew, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. Let's do this.
All right. Are women held accountable in modern society? Before I start to get my points, I want to know. You tell
Uh-huh.
me, are women held accountable? Before you tell me, are women held accountable?
hmm
Before we even get to that, this is
Okay.
what is accountability? Because there is like I thought it was just a small thing, but apparently
hmm
accountability is when you hold yourself accountable within your life. So
hmm
someone else cannot hold you accountable. So for example, if I'm trying to lose weight, which I am,
Okay.
I would have to hold myself accountable, and I would have to start doing what I need to do, eating better, working out, in order to lose the weight. My husband, my friend, my kids, they cannot hold me accountable for
hmm
losing weight. That's an example of what I hear people say. So before we
hmm
even get into whether or not women are held accountable in modern society, I want to know, what's accountability?
Okay, that's fair. That's fair enough. If we just look at the definition, like accountability, I'm looking over Google, just a quick little Oxford dictionary. It said the fact or condition of being accountable or responsible, responsibility, right? So if we're going to be accountable, you can be accountable for yourself, which that's where it starts. Your accountability is where it starts. You have to be accountable for yourself to begin with. But when we link and connect ourselves in a relationship, and if the dynamic is someone has authority over you, okay, like if you're a woman, you have a husband, then now he is in a position to hold his wife accountable because now she's representing or she's on his program, right? So he has a way of how he wants his household to be ran. He has a way of how he wants the image of his household. People, yeah, they run to they're like a lot of times they'll run to, like, say, Proverbs 31, and where it says, she makes his name known at the gates, meaning she represents him. She says good things about him because that's him. Okay, that's his household, that's his bloodline. So he can hold, like, for instance, if a woman is out, and I'm just using this for example, I'm gonna go the other way as well. But if a woman is out and she's dressed inappropriately or behaving in an inappropriate way or something like that, then a man can call her on the carpet and say, hey, look, that is not how a wife of mine is to act. You can't be out there dancing on cars or using foul language, or you represent me. You can't be dressed like that. You represent, this is our family that you're talking about. You're the mother of my children. What are you doing? That's him holding her accountable, holding her to a higher standard, saying, hey, you can't do that. That's not right. What are you doing? That kind of thing. So when we, and same thing, we say, oh, we can only hold ourselves accountable. Okay, what about children? We hold them accountable, right? They don't hold themselves accountable. We hold them accountable, right? So there's always, throughout all human history, there's always been this idea of accountability, of someone else holding us accountable. For example, you have a if you work a job, there is a hierarchy at work, right? And guess what? Your boss holds you accountable. It's that simple. That's how it is. When you live in, when you, if you're in a back in the day when there's matriarchies, and, well, not matriarchies, monarchies is what I meant to say. When there were monarchies, guess what? The king held all the subjects under him accountable. He says, you need to do this, you need to do that. I expect this, I expect that. And if you didn't do it, there were consequences. So this whole idea of, I think it's convenient, when I think it's a secret way of people want to say, you can't tell me anything. It's like, if they want to rely strictly on, we hold ourselves accountable. I mean, yeah, you hold yourself accountable to an extent, but also if someone has authority over you, they hold you accountable too. And that starts even at the parent level.
So when I hear women say things like, how's my husband gonna hold me accountable?
Hmm.
Like, I hold myself accountable. When I hear women say that, from what you're saying is that it's both. You hold
Hmm.
yourself accountable,
Yes.
but that person also holds you accountable, especially if they're your head, if they're your boss, if they're your parent,
Yes.
whatever. They're your king. They're gonna
Yep.
hold you to a certain accountability, especially in the job
Of course.
area. So now that we know, well, I want to get into, now that we know what accountability is, and I want to know your response to, are they? First, I kind of want to tackle, why is it that women seem to be able to do this with jobs,
Right.
but can't do it with marriage?
I love how you put that. That is such a powerful point that you make. That tells both of us that innately they know what it is. They know what it is because they're already doing it, especially if they have a job, right? The ones, who can't do it, who don't do it, they can't maintain a relationship, and they can't maintain a job. But if you can maintain a job, then you know what it is to have someone over you holding you accountable. They understand exactly what that is, right? But they think the rules are different or flipped when it comes to a relationship. They just think it's different. And of course, the society empowers them to do that, empowers them to think that way. They don't have to live in, they can live in their own reality, which a lot of times they call, my truth. They live in their own truth, and they make up their own rules in that little bubble of theirs.
Yeah. So that was something I never could understand. I've heard women say, "Oh, my male is a boss, and I have men that are bosses, and I don't have issues. I don't have problems. If anything, I'm getting promoted." Like, I hear
Mm.
women say that, but then for some reason, when it comes to their house, their home, their marriage, they don't seem to be able to do that. And I think part of it could be because they don't see it as a hierarchy. They
Right.
know this is my
Yes.
boss, and he will
Right.
fire me, and
Right.
he will demote me,
Right.
and my
He
way of
gives me a
moving will
paycheck.
change.
Yes,
He
he
gives
gives
me
me
a
a
pay.
paycheck.
I have to do certain things.
Right.
But at a marriage, it's like, you're not my head, you're
Right.
not my superior,
Right.
you're not my boss. You're not gonna
Right.
tell me what I can wear, where I can go, when I can come, who I can see, and who I
You
can
want
be. You're not gonna do that.
to know
We're
the
a
difference?
partner. We do this together. There is no
Yeah,
you over me type of situation. And
exactly.
I think that that's the issue. Do you see any relationships like that lasting?
No, relationships like that don't last because, the dynamic is off. And the reason I think we get that is because the boss has leverage. The husband does not.
So should husbands have more leverage?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the crazy part is, even though
Uh-huh.
back then, 40s, 30s, 50s, men had a lot of leverage.
They had a lot of leverage, of course.
And women weren't getting, unalived as much.
Correct.
women weren't getting divorced as much. And some people
Mm-hmm.
might say, well, because a woman couldn't. That's why.
Right.
That's what some people
Right.
say.
That's what
But
they
you
say.
didn't
Yeah.
see high rates of uh I don't know what to call, I don't want to say it on YouTube, but
Mm-hmm.
taking yourself out.
Right.
You
Right.
didn't
We say
see a lot of
delete,
that.
delete, delete. Yeah. Delete.
Yeah, you didn't they're not deleting themselves, right?
Right. Right.
Uh you don't see a lot of that. Even when you start looking at women, the feminist movement, it wasn't even about, well, the man makes me cook and clean. You didn't hear
Correct.
that. They
Right.
were
It wasn't about
complaining
that.
about, being able to work in certain fields. They were complaining about,
Yeah.
you know,
Voting.
voting and pay, and pay came later actually.
Right.
But
Right. Pay came later.
more
Yeah.
so voting and, being able to, do certain things within the workforce. That's really
Right.
what you heard
How it
women,
started. Yeah. That's how it
how it
started.
started.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it just
Yeah.
grew into this whole mess. So back on the accountability front, I want to hear yes or no, and then I want your explanation. Are women held accountable in modern society?
I'm gonna have to say no. And the reason I'm saying no is because if we look at let's go to a couple of places. Let's go to criminal justice. Women are only serve a third of the time a man would serve for the exact same crime. Let's look at okay, trash TV or sitcoms or something like that, Paternity Court or The Maury Show and shows like that. And look, let's think back into the theater of our mind when we've seen some of those shows. And the neat thing is, if you think I'm lying, you can go to YouTube and look at clips right now. You look at, say, The Maury Show or something like that, and what are some of his famous words? You are not the father, right? Right. So far, am I lying? Right? Okay.
You
Now,
on point.
okay. Now look at what happens when he says you are not the father. Okay. Most of the times the guy's happy. They're like, okay, I didn't do it. But look what happens. The guys get booed, and he didn't do it. He's not responsible, right? He did not, meaning impregnate her, and she gets sympathy. She gets, oh, it's gonna be okay. She goes crying off stage. She's right, but okay. The audience is not thinking this woman does not know who the father of her child is. Now you have to understand something, okay? We've seen some episodes where the woman went up multiple times, right? It's not the first guy, not the second guy, so on and so forth. What does that tell you? That tells you that this woman slept with a lot of dudes in a very short period of time, and she still gets sympathy. Have you ever seen a? I haven't, okay, because someone can prove me wrong. I haven't seen a woman get booed yet when a paternity test is not the guy she brought up there. I've not one time have I seen. And now remember, before the results are in, she talks big trash. Look at, and the guy comes out, he gets booed before he said a word. He gets a boo, all that, right? She's talking, oh, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that, he don't take care of this, he's awful, he's da 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 da. Boom, get the result. You're not the father. She cries, she gets sympathy, and the guy gets booed. How is she held accountable? How is she held accountable to change her actions to say, look, you're not supposed to be sleeping with all these guys to the extent that you don't even know who the father is? That's a problem. That is a problem.
What do you say to people that say, for instance, there's more shows I've seen where women came on there 4, 5, 6 times and they brought 5, 6, 7 men on there. I've seen them. Part
Yeah.
one, part two, like he'll tell them, look, if you want us to help you, we'll help you. And he will keep bringing them on. What do you
Yeah.
say about all these men that's sleeping with these women? Because what men are saying and women
Hmm.
are saying, they're saying, okay, yeah, the woman did that, but you got 6, 7 men. So obviously you got 6, 7 men, 10, 12 men, sometimes over 20 men that are sleeping with the same woman. How are you going to blame that one woman? Shouldn't we be dealing with the majority, all these
She,
men that are doing it?
okay, good question. But one, we forget she said yes to the 20 guys. None of them would have sex with her if she simply said no. Period. Now,
So you're saying that the woman is in control of the
of sex.
intimacy.
She's in
Okay.
control of the sex. She says women get to decide. Now remember, sometimes we have people listening and then they want to talk about um grape, okay, the fruit grape. They want to talk about grape, but we're not talking about crimes. We're talking about just modern dating, right? That modern dating and marriage. That's all we're talking about. Regular, no crimes. We're not talking about crimes. So that aside, women control sex, men control marriage. It's that simple. So if the woman says no, if a woman marries before she carries, we wouldn't have this kind of problem. It would go way, way down. If you're gonna give the man the milk for free, he's not going to buy the cow. When we get to Woodstock and sexual liberation and all that, this is the result of that. This is what's happening. One thing that women keep forgetting is that men adapt. Before this sexual revolution, okay, and all this liberation and everything, that's what men, and it was implanted in a man's mind. If you want regular access to sex, you better find somebody and you better marry her. That was ingrained in their mind. And guess what they did? They did it. We were married 85% rate. Okay, before 1965, 85% married. Then we look at dating apps and things, and look at the stats today. Okay, look at it today. Now we're not married. Okay, well, our sisters are not. Okay, they're not married. So they're the last one married, first one divorced. We put all the power in their hand. Okay, so now they just don't know what to do with this particular power. Now, obviously, they don't know how to vet men as well, but men is gonna go to the path of least resistance. So let me go ahead and say this because I want to say this one part, and then I'll land the plane. Let me say this one part before I forget. We want to say, oh well, why all these men? These men, they're sleeping with these women. All these men. Okay, let's focus on that because I don't want someone to say I'm not answering the question. My question, my response to it is kind of a question too, but it's rhetorical. Right now, 1 in 3 men, 1 in 3, 18 to 30, are virgins or they have not had sex in the last year. In fact, there are more male virgins right now than female virgins. So is it the man's problem? Is it the men doing it? We still believe in that stereotype, excuse me. We still believe in the stereotype that men are just running around sleeping with everyone. The stats say otherwise. Remember, they take these surveys, and a man is saying, guess what? A man is not bragging when he says, oh, yeah, I haven't had sex. I'm a virgin. He's not bragging. When he said, well, I haven't had sex in over a year. He's not bragging.
Embarrassing. It's embarrassing for a man to say that.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying. So that's why we got to pay attention to the stats, because our bragging rights is that we are having sex. We're getting as much sex as we want. That's what we brag about. So to hear that 1 in 3 men are virgins or haven't had sex in the last year, and there are more male virgins than there are female virgins. So is it the men? But I'll end with that.
Well, if we go off of that, obviously it can't be because they're not as active as the women. So your position is, since the women are obviously in control of the intimacy, not talking about crime.
Right. Not talking about crimes.
When we see one woman on Maury, for example, and we see
Right.
6, 7 men, you're saying instead of attacking or saying the 6, 7 men need to change in order to fix the issue, just focus on that one woman and say, hey,
Correct.
look, you need to stop.
Yeah,
Keep
that's
it
the
low.
yes, that's the leak in the boat. Because if men, put it like this here, if women united, and again, we're not talking about crimes. If women united and say, look, we are not giving out sex unless we are wives, men adapt and they're going to get married. It's what they did historically.
But what do you say
Period.
about women that are saying that now? There are women that are in their 30s and 40s, and they're
hmm
saying, and I saw a show on Kevin Samuel's show. He had a lot of women come on there and say, I'm not sleeping with you.
hmm
They'll say, I'm not going to sleep with you. We're not doing this. We're not doing that. You're going to have to marry me. And I've heard Kevin Samuel say, so you got a kid from somebody else who ain't even
Right.
taking care of the kid. You want
Right.
me to come in. I get no sex.
Correct.
I have no control, no nothing. And I got to raise a kid that's not mine. Why
Right.
would I want that? What do you say to women who have hit what they say, the wall? They call it the wall. What do you say to women that hit the wall and now they're trying to adapt what you're saying? They're saying, okay, I got to stop sleeping with people. I'm done with that. But when they stop sleeping with people, they seem to get less options.
Right. Well, to that I say, first of all, Kevin Samuels was correct, because now she has given away everything that a man wants to marry. She's everything of what that a man wants to have sex with. She has a vagina. Okay, she has a box. So you're you're good to go as far as sex is concerned. But you ruined everything that a man wants to marry. The purity. Okay, that's a low, very low to zero body count. You give away that. The extending his bloodline, perpetuating his bloodline. Nope, you gave your wound to another man. Okay, another man has been there. So that's more drama and stuff like that. Then your ability to pair bond. How can you be mine and you love me and you respect me when you have this high body count in your brain? Okay, if I'm making up a number, all women are not like this, but if I'm making a number, say, she's had 50 men or whatever, I'm just making up a number, had
Apparently
50
they
men.
hide in that, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. So, so they had it. So if you have a body count of 50, you're with me, you're thinking about number 7, number 18, number 21, number 42, number
Sometimes
38. Yeah, it's just
yeah, you think about the
right.
edge.
So exact. So now you're ruined. That's when the men in the red pill community say, they're broken. Okay. So women who say what you're saying, just to circle back to what you're saying, it's too late for most of them. Now, some of them may get lucky. Okay, they get a little older, they have a change of heart. They're like, I just want to be married, stuff like that. Guess what? If your standards cannot be so high, so inflated to where it's going to turn a man off. Look, you can't put a whole lot of requirements on me and you didn't put restraint on you. You didn't wait, you didn't save yourself. You've had your fun. Okay, you went through you went through your prime. You were 18, 28, 30 and all the other stuff. Now you want me post wall. Now I got to deal with all your trauma, all the things that you went through and all that. It's just not a good deal for marriage. It's not a good deal. So there's going to be a consequence to those choices, and some of the women are going to have to deal with the consequences. Now a few are going to get lucky, and a guy's going to see her change, and a guy's going to see, great, yeah, bless them. Okay, they're going to make it. Then there's going to be some who's going to double down on the foolishness. I don't need a man, I'm good. I mean, I saw a clip, matter of fact, Kevin Samuels, he played a clip of Eartha Kitt. Now back in the 60s and 70s, she was up there as far as, actress and stuff, playing Catwoman and all that other stuff, right? And she doubled down on the foolishness. Okay, she's like a modern woman, and here she is. At the time of that, she was in her 70s or 80s and stuff like that, but she still had the same modern woman rhetoric, and she's alone. She's by herself. So some of them going to double down on the foolishness, and some of them just going to have to. They're just going to be off by the wayside. It's just they're just not going to make it.
So are you saying that, I want to know, are you saying that if women, when they're in that prime, you say 18 to
Hmm.
28, if
Yes.
women in that prime were held accountable,
Hmm.
do you believe that we wouldn't have this issue with women in their 30s and 40s hitting the
Correct.
wall and
Correct.
now being in the situation we talked about?
Absolutely, because and I say that because and it'll be minuscule. Obviously, you're going to have exceptions, but the issue will be minuscule because what her job is, what her primary directive should be, is in her prime. She should get the highest quality man she can get. Period. That should be a priority. She should get the best guy she can get. And I'm not saying, oh, everyone has to be six figure and high value and all that. No, I'm talking about just a good dude. She needs to get the best dude she qualifies for, the best dude she can get. That's her job. That's what she should be doing. Period. Problem is they waste their prime, and then when they get upset at a guy who hits his prime, which is much later. Okay, which is a misnomer, because you've heard those saying, well, women mature faster than men and all that. Well, that's a myth. Okay, it's not that. It's just that women hit their prime sooner than men. Men hit their prime in 30, 35 and up. Women hit their 18 to 28. They hit their prime. So that's what she has to do with her prime. Get the best, highest quality guy she can get.
Well,
Because why?
what would that look
Say again.
like though?
Say
What would
again.
it look like?
What do you mean from the woman's perspective? Hold on, you still there?
That look like? You're kind of breaking up. Let me see.
Okay.
Does that look? No, no, What is it? Woman being at 28. What does that accountability look like?
It looks like what they do like in other countries. You make it a priority. So it's vetting. Okay, it's vetting a man. It's her actually, I guess I guess more or less interviewing a man and seeing if she likes his program. It's the interview is this. The interview is not, okay, let me see if he's worthy of me and all. It's not that. It's not that. It's that, is this guy heading in a direction? Is this train going to a destination I want to go on? Before I hop aboard, I need to know where this train is going. So she wants to know, okay, what kind of ambition does he have? What kind of job or career does he have? What kind of program? Where is he? What type of man is he? What type of leader is he? What type of provider is he? What type of protector is he? A woman is interested in his future. A woman is interested in a man's future. So those are type of questions and the things she needs to be looking for. Traditionally, another man, her father, would look for those things to see if he's going something, have something going on. A man looks to a woman's past. She needs to be focused on his future. And so when she says, "Oh, I like what he's doing. Oh, he's about to graduate with his master's. Okay. Oh, he's about to go into business. Oh, he's about to be an engineer. He's about to do." Okay, is that a program you want to be on? You like that? Because remember this day in this modern day and age, a guy could be like, "Okay, well, I'm a marine biologist. Oh, he's corny. He's lame." It's like, what I'm saying? That's why traditionally men, okay, that's why traditionally their father used to vet for them, because he knows what to look for. So that's what it
Okay.
looks like.
Yeah, I see
Sure.
what you mean. I see what you mean. That
Yeah.
makes sense. But now to get back to the accountability point, which to me, it seems like women are being held accountable later. It seems like when
Eh,
they're in their prime, there's
Yep.
zero accountability, meaning that
Correct.
they're able to do certain things
Right.
that can create hurdles later on. And then that
Hmm.
later on seems to be when they are then somehow accountable. What I want to know is why the shift? I
I'll tell
know
you
that.
why.
Yeah, why is there a shift in that accountability all of a sudden?
Because for men, reality holds us accountable. For women, time hold women accountable. I can explain that.
Yeah, explain.
Okay. Time holds women accountable because one, you have a biological clock. You have a biological clock. That means you have a window of when you are fertile and you can have children. Women kind of have a desire to do, for the most part, women have a desire to do that. That clock is running out. That's why women kind of start panicking when they hit the wall. Also, you have a clock on your beauty. Okay, so that youth and that fitness, you kind of have a clock on. I mean, you work on it. That's why makeup and stuff is $1 billion industry and all that, and these cosmetic surgeries and things like that. Because what are they trying to hold on to? Their youth and their beauty. But they know that there's a clock on that. So time holds them accountable, and time starts to look back at their past decisions and say, okay, yeah, you see what you did there? You see, that was a mistake. And now you're reaping what you're sowing right now. So time holds them accountable. So it's a shift because they like, okay, it all changed. Guess what? The DM start drying up, the friend zone start drying up. Okay, the likes start drying up. All that start drying up. And what I like to do, I don't like to compare women to other women. I like to compare women to themselves. So I would say this. I would say, okay, could you at 45 or 55 compete with you at 25? And of course,
Nah.
most of them are gonna say, "Nah, I can't." Right, right. And guess what? I'm comparing you to you. So most women are gonna be
Yeah.
like, "Nah." When I was 25, no, I was it. You couldn't tell me nothing. I was it. But then time caught up, and time is holding you accountable. Time is waiting there at the wall and saying, "Uh-huh, yeah, yep.
So
I
what
knew
do you
you'd be
say
here
about
eventually."
so what do you say about the Black China? Have you heard about the situation with Black China? How
Explain.
she So Black China, she's a Instagram model. She's influencer. Uh,
Okay.
been on a lot of different videos, and she's models for a couple of different things.
Then she
She
turn over a
had
new leaf.
That's what I'm about to get into. So
Go ahead.
she got baptized. She
Okay.
got her implants taken
Take.
out. She
Okay.
got her butt injections taken out. She warned women from getting it, the dangers. She's
Okay.
even got fillers in her face to kind of make her face come in like this.
Mm,
She's
right.
gotten all that. She's getting it now all removed out of her face.
Okay.
So some people are saying it's because she hit the wall. She's older.
Huh.
Things are starting to dry up. She's looking back at her life now, and that's why she's doing this. What would your
Hmm.
responses be to that?
Well, how old is Black China? What if I let me look that up? Do you know how old she is, right off the top of your head?
Nah, I think she's in her 30s. So I remembered I
Maybe in her
looked it
30s.
up. Yeah,
Oh,
she's in
okay.
her
Well,
30s.
no
Let me
problem.
look it up.
Yeah, I'll go trying to look that up. Black China, because they said she hit the wall, and I'm like, it depends. Black China.
Yeah, I don't
Okay,
think she did.
age.
I think she still can get it.
She's 30. Okay, she's 34. I'm looking at it. Okay, she's
Yeah,
34.
34. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's fine.
she's right there. She's knocking on the door of the wall. She's right there. But yeah, she's turning over a new leaf, that's good. That's a good thing. Um, yeah, that's
But I'm
anyway,
seeing
I
a
mean,
pattern. I'm seeing a pattern.
uh-huh.
It's a pattern. Like these
Hmm.
women, it's not just her. It is a pattern. They are
Hmm.
in their youth, just it's all hanging out. And then as
Yeah.
they start to get in the 30s, all of a sudden, it's like it's either two type of switches I see. You see the extreme end with Black China getting baptized, taking everything out. You see that, or you see the other end of it, the women and I don't. Matter of fact, I don't need a man. What I need a man for? What's the point, right? It's like these two things start
That
start to happen.
yeah.
And would you say that accountability have anything to do with that? Would you say
Abs
that women, because your position is that they're not being held, and we're going to get in that shortly. Your position is
they not.
women are not held accountable in society. You gave an example of the whole Maury situation, and I love me some Maury.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
and I think it was a great analogy. I think as I visualized it, I would agree that is exactly how it happens. So
Yeah.
obviously you've somewhat proven your point to say that women are not being held accountable. Even when you brought up the justice system, I seen a case recently where a young woman, two cases, a young woman raped a 12-year-old boy and got pregnant.
Correct.
They
Correct.
gave her probation and let her keep the baby. So now his mom is fighting to get the baby, and she's looking at
Right.
no jail time. But if a
Yeah.
man would have raped a 12-year-old and got her pregnant, it
Right.
wouldn't have been good. It wouldn't have
It
been good
wouldn't
at
have
all.
been
He was
good.
not going to get probation and get to keep the baby. That wasn't going to
Right.
happen. And then you see the case with the woman that uh, lost custody of her children, and then she
Right.
attacked her two kids and unalived
Yeah.
one of them and put the other one in the
Correct.
hospital.
Yep.
And she
I seen
blamed
that.
him. She said it was because of him that this had to happen.
Yeah. Look. Yeah. Look at what you
So
made me do, kind of thing. Yep.
you gave a lot of good points about women not being held alive, and it was gruesome, man. She said, "You made me do this." So what I'm trying to say is that has this always been this way? Because you established we see now is this happening. Has it always been this way? And if not, when did it start? And what is the long-term danger of this?
Okay. Well, no, it hasn't always been this way, right? Feminists would be like, oh, the patriarchy, since the beginning of time. No, we used to be, it used to be in other countries, used to be in a society like, a little bit in the Middle East and stuff like that. There's this concept of shame, right? And everyone thinks, oh, shame is bad and all that. No, it kind of kept people in line. Okay. Remember, well, anyway, it's kind of like in Game of Thrones. I know this is a fictitious account, but remember when Cersei had to walk through the village all naked and all that other stuff? Shame. Or remember back in times of like Salem witch hunt and stuff like that, and the Scarlet Letter, and they had to have that
Mhm.
scarlet, keep them in line. You get marked, stuff like that. So there's this concept of shame would help keep people in line, and people would stay in line because they don't want to be shamed. So I would say no, it hasn't always been like this. Now, it started. with women's liberation and things like that, right? And again, I'm not saying that women should be oppressed and they can't work and they can't vote and all that. Of course they can. And I have to say that because someone will probably clip this and be like, "Oh, he thinks that, women can't, shouldn't vote or be out of the house and all that other stuff." I'm not saying that. I think they should be able to work if they want to or whatever. Um, and should be able to vote. That's fine by me. It doesn't bother me. But the result of it, it's interesting you said that. It's interesting you said what's the result of it. When they're not held accountable, first we got to understand what it breeds. What is this whole thing of not being accountable? They just do what they want with no consequences and things like that. What does this breed? I'm gonna read a couple little things. Single what happens is that this whole single parent, yeah, household and stuff like that. Let me give you one example because I got these notes in front of me, so I'm not going to forget it, but I did want to give another example. If a man, depending on the state, if a man cannot pay child support, what happens to him if it's court ordered?
He can lose his license. He can
Yes.
be incarcerated.
Yes.
His wages can be taken away. Like all of it can be ripped away from him.
Okay, got you. What happens to a woman if she can't pay child support? Exactly. She gets
Uh,
public assistance.
well, yeah, she get help.
That's it. That's the point. So how if you talking about two parents, one can't pay, he gets jail, wage garnishment, be called a deadbeat, stuff like that. The other, the opposite gender can't pay, she gets help. How is she held accountable? So
Yeah,
that
it's
so
not.
that that's okay. So that's my point in that. But look at
Most
what
women
happens
don't
here.
even pay child support, and some of them get 50-50 custody. I know someone
Exactly.
now that has 50-50 custody. They swap
Exactly.
every few days, and he
Hmm.
and he pays child support still.
Exactly, because that it's designed that way. So no, they're not being held. Plus other women, which we call the sisterhood or whatever, just empowered, just encourages the foolishness. Oh no, it's okay. If a marriage breaks up, the first thing people say on default is like, what did he do? Like if a woman, for example, if a man leaves his marriage, he's awful. He's terrible. He's a deadbeat. How could he do that? How could he do that to his wife? And how could he do that to his family? Oh my God, da 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 da. But if a woman leaves her marriage, what did he do? She had
Yeah,
to do it for a reason. Yeah.
he said
Oh,
that
oh,
with
he had to do it for
he
a reason.
said that with the Tia Mowry thing. He
Exactly.
said, and she said it's because she found self love, and she
Yeah.
graduated. That was her.
It's a self
But we all
selfishness.
said, what did he do? Did he cheat?
Hmm.
What did he do?
But he did. But he didn't. Because if he
Yeah.
did, she would have been said it by now. She would already said it by now. But he didn't. So you see, that's what I'm saying. And it goes back to the stats you and I have talked about. 80% of the time they're going to squeeze the trigger, and it's 90% of the time if they have a degree. But here's some of the stats. Okay, right here. Paternity fraud. That's another example. Paternity fraud. So when it is not, when it's proven that the guy is not the father, how come she don't go to jail or something happened to her? Nothing happens
Yeah,
to her.
nothing. Yeah, nothing happens. Even when
Nothing.
a woman files false claims of rape, it's a
Doesn't.
small case of women that
Yeah.
have been somewhat held accountable, but not even that
Yep.
serious.
It's not even.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, usually the woman it had to be a trial, and then they would
Yes.
charge her with like perjury. But if
Yeah.
it's no trial and she just accused him, he got arrested, he got
Yep.
humiliated, all this
Yep.
stuff happened to him, lost his job, community looks at him like a weirdo, probably even got
Exactly.
put in jail. He gets released because you found out she lied.
Lem-
Nothing usually happens.
Nothing happens. Let me ask you this: what happened to Amber Heard after she lost her case against Johnny Depp?
People felt sorry for her actually. They were fighting for her actually.
Yeah, she she
But
she tried to destroy him, and nothing happens to her. Nothing.
I mean, they say
Nothing.
she has to pay now, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Right. Yeah. Like that's gonna happen. But okay,
and
that's
from what
cool.
I heard, she has insurance, and the insurance is supposed to be it's just crazy.
Uh-huh. It's absolutely crazy. Now, a couple of things that I wanted to when all this goes awry, okay? Single parents, okay. And you can stop me whenever you want. I'm not going to bloviate very long, but I want to just bring out a couple things. Okay, 37.8% of single mothers are divorced. 41 never married. So you got 37 plus 41. Okay, 41 never married. All these people have children. Only 6.5% are widows. This is from the Brookings Institute. Okay. uh, let's see, Brookings Institute. It says assessing the impact of welfare reform on single mothers. Okay, this was back in '04. It says, I'm moving on to another resource. Another resource. The strongest predictor of whether a person will end up in prison is that they were raised by a single parent. C.C. Harper and S.S. McClanahan. Father absence and youth incarceration. Paper presented at the annual meeting of American Sociological Association in San Francisco, 1998. It says in 1996, 70% of inmates in state juvenile, this is 96, okay, I think it's up to 83% now, but 70% of inmates in state juvenile detention centers serving long sentences were raised by single mothers. Okay, that's by Wade Horn. Why there is no substitute for parents. Okay, this is back in 97. Another resource: 70% of juvenile murders and 60% of grape-ists came from single mother homes. Okay. Chuck Colson, How Shall We Live? Tinsdale House, 2004, page 323. Another resource, and I'm gonna round it out over here. In a recent study by a Baltimore-based Annie C. Casey Foundation comparing statistics for its Kids and Count report, and Count report, the organization reported that Detroit ranks #1 in unmarried births among the nation's 50 largest cities. And of the 16,729 babies born in Detroit in 1997, 13,574 were black, 1,600 were white, and 817 were Hispanic. 71% were born to unmarried mothers. This compared with a state average of 33% and a 50 city average of 43%. Now, here's a couple of stats right here I'll give you, and I'll stop. 63% of youth suicides come from single parent home mothers. 90% of runaway children, single parent home mothers. 85% of children with behavioral disorders, single parent home. 71% of high school dropouts, single parent home. 80% of youths in prison, I told you it got up to 80%, single parent home. And 75% of youths on drugs, single parent homes. Period. Now, before someone comes in and say, oh, but what about if it's a single father? Two problems. One, 93% of the time, the woman gets the custody of the child. And two, they do have stats on the father, and they're almost identical as if the child had two parents.
So you're saying that based on these statistics, the men are better at raising kids?
The stats say that. I'm not saying it. The stats are saying it. Because the stats are going to introduce some because the father, we can agree with this. Fathers parent differently. We can agree with that. Fathers parent differently.
You know why I think it's like that? I think it's because what women provide, what mothers provide, if the child lacks it, it doesn't seem to affect their ability to, graduate, their ability to seek counseling in the proper areas, not going to gangs and stuff. It doesn't seem to affect them as far as being an addict or even wanting to be unalive. It will give them issues because children need both parents. But I think that the woman's absence doesn't affect them in that sense. It may affect them in a sense as far as maybe being in relationship, maybe they don't really know what it looks like, maybe I don't know. But I think with the man not being there, I think what he brings does affect a child graduating because it brings stability and structure.
You want exactly. And I was gonna say I was gonna say it goes back to the word of what we're talking about now, accountability. A man is going to raise his children to be accountable
because he's accountable.
Exactly, because of reality. Meaning if he's raising a boy or a girl or whatever, he has to deal with everything in reality. So for example, it is more likely if the school calls the man up and say, hey, your child's misbehaving and all the other stuff, is more likely that the man is going to go and address the child. He's going to address his child. You shouldn't be acting like that. Don't make me do that. But we've seen, I'm not going to say all women because they're going to go crazy and be like, no, no, I don't do that. Da, da, da. Okay, not all. But what we're going to see is a lot is that the women will come up there and address the teacher. She'll jump on top of the teacher and be like, hey, what are you doing that? This ain't fair. This ain't right. Da, da, da. She's not dealing with the reality. It could be your child's behavior. It could be. We don't know. It could be. You got to at least investigate that. Or they, because of their nurturing nature, nothing wrong with nurturing nature, because I said I think we need each other because there's a balance. But because of that nurturing nature, there's going to be some coddling going on. It's not going to be as much coddling from from men. There's not going to be quite as much coddling. It's going to be like, look, his son, he's going to say, brush it, he gets hurt, brush yourself off, get up, let's do it. We don't, let's man up, that kind of thing, right? But he's not, but one thing is that the father's not going to shield his children from reality. He's gonna deal with it the way it is. Hey, it's rough out there. We need to do this, that. You need structure, you need order, you need discipline. You need to, make something of yourself. You gotta. That's the reality.
So
Life is not gonna hand you.
So you're
Sure.
not saying that women are horrible parents. You're saying
No,
that women aren't able to provide what the child needs
yeah,
without. So the men being there is a big component, and that child needs it, and the women aren't able. Not all, but a big
not all.
portion based off of the statistics.
Look at the
A big
stats. Yeah,
portion of women aren't
yeah,
able to give them that. And so they go and seek it in other places, whether it be substance abuse,
correct.
gangs, violence, rape, whatever. They're
Yes,
finding ways to
yes.
get that what they need, but because they're children and they don't really know what they need, they
Yep.
then try to find it in other places, and
They try
sometimes
to.
those be wrong places. But what do you say to people who say that these statistics aren't reasonable? That, well, I know a lot of women that have raised kids single parents, and the kid is a college graduate and they're doing really fine, and their child's actually married with a family themselves. So what do you say to people who are saying that those statistics don't make sense?
Well, they do make sense, and I think they just want to reject it. And the exception does not disprove the rule. I think they want to take their own personal anecdotal example and say, "Oh, I know this single mother, and she raised her children, and they graduated, and they're not in trouble, and all that." Okay, that's one. That's a drop in the bucket. You know what I'm saying? So again, even the stats are not saying it is absolute, like all. No, they're giving you the percentage. They're saying, okay, 63%, 90%, 85%, 71%. So if it doesn't apply, let it fly. Say, okay, well, it doesn't apply to me. That's it. But it's still true. And what I'm saying is that the danger is this. The danger is if we don't, if we ignore the stats, then there's no wake up call. There's no awakening. There's no realization. Okay, there's no realization that there is a problem, and that's the issue right there. That nobody wants to recognize that there is a problem,
Is that another
that it is
form of
real.
not? Is that another form of exercising no accountability for women in
That's
a modern
exactly what it is.
society by
That's
rejecting the
exactly.
statistics?
Yep, they hate it
Do do
because think
men,
about it. No, go
is
ahead.
that
No, go
same
ahead. I'm sorry.
response to men? Do men receive that same response for statistics that negatively affect them? Do you hear anyone trying to attack those statistics? Like
No, not.
for example,
Go
they
ahead.
talk about how, you know, it's a lot of men that are having children and not taking care of them. That's like a big thing, especially in the melanated community.
Sure.
I don't hear a lot of people combating that.
Combine it. Right, exactly. Because men are logically based. So when they and numbers are logical. There's no emotion to, and if I, there's no emotion attached to that. And usually it's the women who become triggered because the stats are not saying what they want it to say. If the stats were reversed, then the women would embrace it. The modern women is when I say that. The modern women, they would embrace it. They say, see, this is what we're talking about, because of the father, da 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 da, because of the father. Okay. But it's not saying that, it's saying that there is something lacking on your part, talking about, the modern women, something's lacking on your part, so you don't like it. So let's just dismiss those stats. Or let's reinterpret it. Okay. Everything that I read over here, what they have in common is that it is a single mother home. All this comes from a single mother home. Now they want to say, oh, well, it's because, men leave. No, men don't leave. 80% of the time, it's the woman who's kicking them out. And it started back in the 60s and it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And I don't want to make it biblical script, but you're going against order the way God intended it. Don't go against the order. Besides that, when a man has children, this is his bloodline that is perpetuated. So it starts with the man. So you cut off your head, the tail falls. And that's what we're looking at with these stats. The tail is falling. You cannot do it on your own. I'm talking about, the women. You can't do. I know the lie told you that you can do it on your own. You're single, you're independent, you don't need a man. It's a lie. You do need a man. And then even if you don't, guess what? The children do. If we're looking at these stats, the children do. So you may not want one, but the children do. It's their health, their identity matters. You know how many children are growing, you know how many children growing up who don't even know their identity, meaning their background. Who is my father and who is my father's father? They can't even trace their bloodline back far enough because they have no relationship with their fathers. They don't know who they are. Why do you think they run away from home? Why do you think they take drugs? They're coping. They're trying to cope. Why do you think they join gangs? 80% of guys that are in gangs come from a single parent home.
Yeah.
Come from a single mother home. They're looking for belonging. They're looking for identity. They're looking for masculinity. They're looking for leadership. They're looking for a father. What do they say to young women who are very promiscuous? Come from a single parent home because she's looking for a father figure because she didn't have that.
Yeah.
It does not work. It is a lie. The numbers telling us this liberation and this all the women independent and all that. It doesn't work by the numbers, not by my opinion. By the numbers, it doesn't work. Family works. Commitment and
So,
covenant
so both.
works.
So both, basically.
Yeah, well, ultimately you need both. I'm not going to go against the natural order. You need both. You need both. But in Western societies, family, or especially in our community, and it's pretty much the only community where it's a matriarchal community. The other nations, it is patriarchal. Okay, white, Indian, uh, you know, um, if you're, I'm sorry, God, I was just slipping. Anyway, Asian, all the African, patriarchal, patriarchal, patriarchal. The black community, matriarchal, and look at the problems that we're having.
So what I want to get into is, what are we seeing the long-term effects? Have you ever researched, because you definitely look into statistics and things. What are we looking at as the long-term effect if our community continues to go on this direction? What are we looking at if women continue to not be held accountable?
Hmm.
Or do you feel that there's starting to be a turn? Do you feel that women are starting to be held accountable, or do you think they're not? And what is the long-term effect of this?
I think a lot of women are waking up to it because you see a lot of women they're denouncing, feminism and stuff like that. So they're waking up. Now, many of them is going to be a little bit too late. The long-term effect is going to be, and I think I mentioned to you before, but there's an article. It says actually a couple where it says, 50% of women are going to be single by 2030. That's only in 7 years. Okay, 50%. To the point that you have some major JP Morgan to name one. There's a couple of companies that are investing in stock in wine and pet food. Okay, wine and pet foods, because that's how much, when you believe in something, you put your money where your mouth is, right? When you believe in something, so they're putting money into these spaces because of the trend. We're socially engineered, and what's happening is that you're gonna have a lot of lonely, bitter women. And what the other effect is, you're gonna have we already have like passport bros, right? You already have that. So what I mean, the only reason why I'm bringing it up is this, because it goes with the question that you asked. What's the long-term effect? The long-term effect is that guys who've already started to wake up, and guys are already starting to try to be better versions of themselves. The Pookie and Ray Rays, they can stay. But we're talking about the guys in the middle, and we're talking about the high value guys, right? They are the ones who are going to start family with other women in other nations, period. they're going to do it. Why? Because those women didn't grow up with, I don't want no man, I don't need no man, I can do it all by myself, I'm strong, I'm independent. You're talking about other women who don't have that. Don't have that. You're talking about where a man gets a clean slate where he don't have to be like, oh, well, you're a dead bleed or black men ain't this and that. He don't have to hear any of that. He don't have to deal with that. He didn't have to deal with the childhood trauma of growing up. A man did this to me and a man did that to me. He don't have to deal with any of that. He just goes somewhere else. He goes to Latin America. He goes to Asia. He goes to Africa. He goes somewhere else and get a traditional woman with all those traumas. So what they're going to see, you're going to see men leave, and you're going to see a few come back and be right there in that neighborhood with Sophia, with Mylene, okay, with
Oh,
Shuri, and they're going to start their families and they're going to have the man. And the modern ones who don't try to transition, they're not going to have the man. They're going to be alone. They're going to be with their cats and their dogs. Now, a lot of them who double down on the foolishness are going to be like, well, that's okay. I want to be alone. Okay, great. You're good. You're set. Then you're set. But for those who want a family, if they do not turn things around, what happens in economic upheaval? What happens when things go awry? What happens when the dollar collapses? It's kind of like back in 2020, but that was a pandemic. But what happens when, because other things are on the horizon? Do you really want to be alone? Do they? And I don't think they think about those type of things. And that's the whole
well,
thing
they
with
do
Kevin
think
Samuels.
about it, but they think about it later.
They think about it later, or they may think about it when it's too late. And that's the interesting thing. They pretty much want to dance on Kevin Samuels' grave, and he was actually trying to save them, actually trying to help them. Like, no, you need to soften up. You need to cooperate with a man because it gets hard. How many times he talk about economics? He said, okay, how much, when he asked the question, how much money do you have for retirement? That kind of thing. They're not thinking about those type of things. You know what I'm saying? So he's actually trying to help them. It's like, you better find a man you can cooperate with, you can build with, so you can secure your retirement. Okay. You're not going to stay in your prime. You're not going to stay 18 to 28 forever. Okay. You're going to go to, you're going to get older. You're going to get past that wall. And then what's going to really matter to you? How about your deathbed? When you're old, what do you want around you? You want your cats and your dogs around you? Or do you want your grandchildren and your great grandchildren around you? A
But
loving husband.
what I want to know is why didn't we see this coming, or did we see this coming?
When you say we, who are we talking about? The women,
As
the
far as
men?
the
What?
as far as the well, I won't say the women because I feel like it happened so quick. The men, did men not see this happening where women were becoming more empowered and more independent and more liberated to the point where, and then on top of having all of that, zero
Yeah.
accountability, and then seeing the effects of it? Because I'm just now, this whole manosphere and the red pill, this
Hmm.
is relatively new. It's not
It is
even 10
relatively
years
new.
old. It's not to
Yeah.
me. I'm pretty sure people were talking about it back then, but
Sure. Sure.
I just feel like it's a few years old. I think the pandemic is what really pushed it. People sitting at home and having more
Yep.
space and time to express themselves and talk about what they're dealing with. And once more men started speaking, that's when we started realizing, wait a minute, hold up. So I think men been had these issues and felt this
Hmm.
way, but I don't think they had the space to really express it, nor probably the time. But now
Right.
because you have the time and you have the space with the internet and so much different technology, you're able to now create that environment. You can actually hear the other side of the situation. But my thing
Absolutely.
is, why is it always like this? It's like we always seem to get there too late. Like we're so deep in and so far in, and now we're
Hmm.
like, oh, and now what do we do? That's what I'm gonna ask you next. What the heck do we do if women are being held accountable and we're seeing the effects of that, which is our future is
Hmm.
being destroyed? How do we fix this crap?
Well, well, it's kind of goes with what I said a few minutes ago. But before I even go to that, some men did see it coming. It's just that men were shouted down. Okay, it goes back to what you said. I want to echo what you said to your point. Um, they saw it, but they did not have the space. They just did not have the space. That's why you have, an Andrew Tate. That's why you have a Jordan Peterson. That's why you have a Kevin Samuels. That's why you have men like this. It was kind of a perfect storm. It was the timing of it all. It was the timing of it. It was perfect timing to where now men are not afraid to, because before, when a man says something like that, what, you could get labeled something. Oh, patriarchal or toxic masculinity or misogyny, or they, all these labels out there. So guys didn't really want to say anything. They put their head down and just dealt with it, right? But now men are speaking up, and women are not used to that because they were so empowered. And then that empowerment came gradually. Remember, we got to this point, but it started back in 65. Okay, so we're talking, 50, 60 years. So it just now got there. Now, where we go from here, okay, there is hope. I don't want to make it seem like there is no hope. There is hope, but there will be casualties, meaning there will be some people are not going to make it. Some people are destined to be alone. It's just going to happen. They're going to be alone. They're going to die alone. They probably have pets. They probably, I mean, what, 1 in 4 women are on antidepressants? You know, it's going to happen. It's just going to happen. Now, how we turn it around is men still have to rise up and be the best version of themselves. I know I say the same thing. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but they're going to have to, because that's what it's going to take to continue to build families. Then, in order to turn some of the women around, now hear me carefully, because remember, men are telling them certain things right now. Okay, hey, you're too masculine. You need to be, feminine. You need to, adhere to traditional roles. We don't want this boss chick stuff. We don't want that. We don't want the high body count. We don't want the fake injections. We don't want the fake hair and the fake eye. We don't want that. We don't want. But they're not being listened to. They're not being listened to, because it's still pushback. What a man prefers, his preferences are still being shamed and pushed back on, right? So what he's going to have to do is ignore modern women. He's going to have to. They want ATM. They want his attention. They want his time. They want his money. If he does not give them that, when the modern woman is being ignored, she's not getting the validation. She cannot. The man, don't go to the sperm bank, right? She's not getting that, so she can't get that. She can't get the sperm at the sperm bank. The guys are not paying her any attention. She's not getting the likes. She's not getting the hey boo, not trying to slide in the DMs. When they do that, when they're not getting what they want, then they're gonna have to listen. And this is all with a man not saying anything. He's just ignoring them. He's just on his purpose. He's on his grind. And they see other women, the ones who they call pick-me's, when they see them getting the families and being fulfilled because they have husbands, they have children that love them, husbands that taking care of them, then they will listen. And that's why I say there will still be casualties, but some will turn. They just have to turn in time. You can't tell them anything right now. You can tell them directly right now. You're going to get pushback. You're going to get arguments. You're going to get, I don't have to do. You're going to get all that. But when you ignore them, when you walk away, when you don't give them time, you don't give them attention, you don't give them their money, you don't give them that validation, none of that. That's why I said, I tell guys, don't date, don't mate, don't procreate with a modern woman, period. And then they will turn. When they see their outcomes are not what they desire, then they will turn.
And hopefully it won't be too late, because a
Exactly.
lot of people are waiting. I noticed that men can be 40, 50 years old. I was
Yep.
speaking to a brother 50 some years old, and he's trying to beat him off with a bat. Like, seriously, he's
Yeah.
like, look, I'm not ready. I'm just
Yep.
enjoying. I'm finally found peace with my singleness.
Yep.
I'm not ready. And the
Yes.
women are like, "Rawr, give me."
Yep.
And the
Yep.
switch is crazy. That's why I always
Yep.
advocate for older men to be with younger women, because I
Absolutely. Hey,
feel
they
like
met. No, you go
everybody
ahead.
gets
I don't
what they
cut you off.
want. Everybody gets what they want. Like, the man
Everybody
gets
wins.
the woman in her prime. She's ready to have children. She's
Yep.
able to keep up with the kids.
Yep.
She's not too into this whole career type of thing. She's really focusing on trying to build. And the woman, she gets a man that's stable. Because most men financially, it's when they get older. When they're younger in their 20s, they're still figuring it out. Once the men start getting in their late 30s, 40s, especially 50s, they pretty much already got retirement, own their home. They're pretty much established. And that's what we want. So I
Absolutely.
always advocate for like older men and younger women because I feel like we both get what we want, right?
Exactly.
That's my
Exactly.
position. But
Well,
with that being said, anything else you want to add to the conversation of accountability?
oh well, I was gonna say, I was gonna echo your point because remember, they're getting upset. I don't know if you've seen any of it, but I think they're kind of getting upset at Leonardo DiCaprio because once they turn 25, he gets a younger one because they hate the fact that he's older and he keeps getting these younger women. Hey, I'm not mad at him. He's happy. He's at peace. Hey, let him. Let him let him be at peace. Let
But
him
that
be at peace.
25-year-old better figure it out because
She bet.
once you hit
Yeah,
that 25, you out. So the 22, 23-year-old, if
exactly.
they're there for the ride, hey. But if they're trying to lock it down,
Lock it
they
down. You
better
better
figure,
figure
figure something out, man.
figure it
Get the
out.
groove. But it's so many women and so many options, and when you're high value like that,
Yeah.
if you don't,
Eh,
I'll get someone else that'll do it. And like you said, if women would start to change their tactics and say no, imagine if all the women were like, I don't care who you are, I don't care how much money you got, you're not getting my box. Like it's not happening.
exactly.
You think he's
Imagine.
gonna keep switching them out like that? He's not. He
Exactly.
knows, oh snap, I'm gonna have to actually commit to this. But as long as
Yep.
these women are willing to keep on keeping making themselves available like this, he's just gonna keep switching them out. Same thing like Madonna.
Absolutely.
She find them
Absolutely.
young
Yeah.
boys, as long as they're willing to be her boy toy, she's just gonna
Yep.
keep
She's
switching them
gonna keep
out.
doing it. Yeah, exactly. And again, see, that's what we're saying. We're talking about accountability, and that's when I said earlier, time holds women accountable, right? So as long as they're in their prime and those and their DM is full, they're not gonna change. Until that dries up, it's gonna stay the
That's
same. Now,
what
when
it
that
is.
dries up, yeah, and then they'll change after that. Absolutely.
Yeah, wow. Man, this was such a great conversation. You see my screen acting crazy, my internet's going crazy. I wish I could go on longer and longer and longer, but I
It's
really
okay.
enjoyed this. If you guys enjoyed him coming here, I always do, and I feel like the people do. Definitely get in that comment section. Tell us what you think. Do you agree that women are not held accountable in modern society? Do you agree with the statistics? Do you believe that it takes them to hit the wall to actually eventually open their eyes and seeing that, yeah, I got to make some changes? And do you believe that men need to resort to leaving the country and actually going somewhere else to find a more traditional woman because women in the West are just too modernized, and
Hmm.
due to the fact of this accountability not being held on them, is creating a monster, so to speak. So, what do you guys think? Do you think that High Value Hebrew made a lot of good points? If you agree or disagree, we want to hear from you. We want to hear your points. We want to get the conversation started. This is why it's called Let's Talk Podcast, because if me and Robert just talks, and we're like-minded in a lot of areas, not in everything, but we seem to share a lot of the same ways of thinking. He's much better at breaking down his points. That's why he's here, because your girl can't do it. So if it's just us talking and taking up space, I don't see growth happening. I want to hear from the people who have a different perspective, have a different way of viewing things and seeing things, so that we can bring those two ways of thinking together and start to kind of hash it out. But it
Yeah.
has to be authentic and honesty. You can't come to the table with denial. You can't come to the
Right.
table ignoring the evidence that's in front of you, yet trying to argue a opposite point of what the person is saying. If someone's saying, hey, here's the proof, here it is, you can't say, well, I don't accept that and you're wrong,
Right.
I'm right. We're not going to ever grow like that. We're not going to ever
Correct.
build like that. And we will not change. We will just continue the same statistics. And like he said, in 10 years, it's not looking good for a lot of our sisters. So while we're still young, while we still have the time, the space, and the energy, let's try and grow. So if you agree or if you disagree, get in that comment section. Tell us what you think. I do think that a big change needs to happen. I don't see it happening, but even if I can reach one person that can say, you know what, I never thought about it like that until he broke it down. And I don't want my children to end up like this. I don't think any mother who truly loves their child wants their kid to end up dropped out, addicted to drugs, unalive, incarcerated. No mother would ever desire that for her child. So, with that being said, let's try and take some of these talking points tonight and try and apply it to our lives. If not for ourselves, do it for our future. With that being said, High Value Hebrew, thank you again for coming and joining us on Let's Talk Podcast. We appreciate you. We love you every time you come. Looking forward to doing some more podcasts with you. Share with the people your information again. Let them know how they can reach out to you. And any other things you want to add to the conversation before we close out, the floor is yours.
Well, no. The only thing I can add is everyone, please like, share, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend and tell a friend. You guys don't understand this woman is one of the hardest working women. I'm telling you, she is round the clock doing something. She juggles a lot. She has to juggle a lot, which is another one of her talent. She juggles. So with all the tasks that she has to do. So definitely, definitely. We want to go ahead and hit that algorithm because we actually do want the conversation to get out there. That's the only way there's going to be some changes. That's the only way there's going to be some improvement, especially, in our community, is that we actually talk about it and take an honest look at it. So that's exactly what I want us to do. So please like, share, subscribe, and in the comment section, go ahead, put your information in there, ask your questions. If do you agree, disagree, either way, it doesn't matter, and we'll interact. You'll see her in the comment section. You'll see me in the comment section. I'll be under my channel, High Value Hebrew, addressing whatever's in there. But just put it in there, share it with other people. Let's talk about it. That's what this podcast is about. Let's talk podcast. Let's talk about it. Let's get this out there, and so that we can make some changes in our community. But we got to have an open, honest conversation about it. So with that, I'm High Value Hebrew. That can be on YouTube. That could be TikTok. That could be Instagram. High Value Hebrew. And thank you